His Excellency Carlos Garibaldi, Executive Secretary of ARPO. Thank you. NJ Ayuk is the Executive Chairman of the African Energy Chamber. Annabel Kraga, Executive Secretary of ARDA. Annabelle?
There, but amen. All right, let's switch continents. Your Excellency, Carlos Garibaldi came all the way from Uruguay. Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean are all components of the, quote, global South. This is a quite broad generalization, however, as both regions are quite heterogeneous as per se. What are their common denominators? And what are the differences in regards to advancing their plural, just, and equitable energy transitions?
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here and to follow the lead of Africa. I think it's fair to characterize the global north as an entity because it's homogeneous in economic development, in standard of living, infrastructure, low poverty, etc. But when we talk about the global south, it's a very broad generalization. First, because it's very different. Africa is not the same as Latin America, and within each region, like Latin America or Africa, there's big difference and heterogeneity between countries in social development, in hydrocarbon or natural resource endowment, etc. But let's accept the generalization. What pales in comparison in our regions with the global north is that, for example, Latin America and Caribbean, with 8% of the population, generate 7% of the greenhouse gas emissions. But those come more from agriculture and deforesting than they come from energy. Africa holds 19% of the world's population and contributes under 6% of greenhouse emissions. Meanwhile, the global north has 14% of the world population, and today, after cleaning up their act, they're still contributing 30% of greenhouse emissions, and that if we don't count the historical emissions of CO2 since the first industrial revolution, which range anything from 70 to 90%. So also, both Latin America and Africa have substantial swatches of population in structural poverty, in energy poverty, and dirty cooking with firewood, cooking with animal waste, or cooking with charcoal. And we have to put an end to that, and that has an effect, also substantial effect, on the quality of life and on the health of women, who actually, depending on the socioeconomic level, have to take care of that. And so, in varying degrees, Africa and Latin America have socioeconomic priorities, including energy poverty, that trump the urgency for EV chargers and for green hydrogen, okay? And also, what we have in common, we have the right to our socioeconomical development, the right to eradicate our poverty, the right to develop and monetize our natural resources, and the right to choose our own plural, just, equitable, and inclusive paths to energy transitions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. Garibaldi, given the historical role of hydrocarbons in Latin America and the Caribbean, how does the region balance its growth and energy security needs with the need to decarbonize?
Well, I think we started from a good starting point, which is we have the cleanest primary matrix in the planet. We only depend 5% on coal versus 27% as the world average, and we use a lot of hydro and we use a lot of natural gas. That helps. Now, I think that energy security is in peril, and there are several parties responsible. For one thing, the multilaterals that want to curtail access to capital, to oil and gas, and that's a simplistic and reductionist solution to a complex system. That doesn't work. The second one, maybe us as an industry, we're not putting their money where our mouth is. You know, listed companies are spending more in dividends and buybacks than they are spending in CapEx, in organic CapEx. And CapEx in exploration has dropped 70% since 2013. So I'm starting to think, not getting so worried about peak supply, but peak demand, but it's starting to get worried about peak supply. And the third thing is our governments have responsibility too. We have to have governments that have policies of state. Policies of state go beyond governmental policy. They are immune to electoral cycles and to ideological pendular swings. And also, they have to talk among themselves internally in the governments. It seems that sometimes that the Minister of Energy and the Minister responsible for the environment come from two different planets. So you get the license, but you don't get the permits. Also, that's internally. And also there has to be better articulation and integration among themselves on infrastructure, on policy, etc. And beyond ideological differences that we have, and also beyond old scars from skirmishes happening in the 19th century. Look, we're sitting in Western Europe. They have been, all the peoples of Western Europe have been killing each other for the last 2,000 years, okay, for imperial, religious, or reasons. And they had the two most terrible wars in history in the 20th century. But they have a union. They have the same, they have a customs union, they have a monetary union, they have the same infrastructure. Why can't we do the same in Latin America?
Thank you very much.